Welcome to TOASTMASTERS International's World Championship of Public Speaking. Taking photographs, video, or audio recording at any time during the contest is strictly prohibited and may result in you being removed from the room. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones and any other electronic devices. If you would like to relive the event, please visit ToastMastersOnDemand.com. Ladies and gentlemen, your International President-elect, Distinguished Toastmaster, Balraj Arunasalam.
Welcome to the World Champion of Public Speaking. Tonight, we are joined by thousands of Toastmaster members around the world who are watching this event via live streaming. Let's give them a round of applause. I'm sure in your childhood you went to a zoo only during the daytime. A couple of years ago you went to a formula race only during the daytime. All of them have become nighttime. So we decided to have this race in the nighttime. My friends, we are at a speech contest. A contest is all about effectively communicating your message. Many decades ago, they have done a research to see communication capabilities of a few countries. So the archaeologists dug deep below in the UK and found some copper wires and came to a conclusion, even at that time, they had copper wire communication. And then, of course, our American friends also dug deep beneath and found fiber optic cables and came to a conclusion that there was fiber optic communication even at that time. But back home in Sri Lanka, to be outdone, our archaeologists dug and did not find any cables. So they came to a conclusion there was wireless communication even at that time. Always look at life in an optimistic manner, my friends. We are here, right in this hall. I got an email from Toastmasters International saying that those who are going to miss this contest can pay and register for online streaming. But ladies and gentlemen, those who are already here, right now, right here in this hall, it'll be good if you can see me or the contest chair and the contestants, unless you want to hold us in the palm, in your palms, right? Don't do that. There are people following the competition on Twitter. And if you would like to join the conversation, use the hashtag TICONV17. This is one of Toastmasters' most exciting events. 10 of our most talented Toastmasters are here to compete for the title of 2017 Toastmasters World Champion of Public Speaking. For these finalists, it has been a year-long process. The international speech contests begin with more than 30,000 members competing at the club level and culminates in the semifinals on Thursday. 102 semifinalists represented their district in an attempt to make it to the ultimate speaking competition, the World Championship. Tonight's contestants are, in speaking order, Katina Hunter, Yolanda Bynum, John Andrews, Tristan D. Montebello, Savine Hegde, Kevin Stamper, Aditya Maheshwaran, Simon Bucknell, Godfrey McAllister. Manoj Vasudevan. There are several past world champions in the audience today. Please join me in welcoming them as I read their names. Arabella Bengtson, Mark Brown, Ed Tate, Darren Lacroix, Jim Key, Lance Miller, Mark Hunter, Chris Vasilev, Dhananjay Hettiarache, Mohammad Katani, Are there any other world champions in the audience whom I did not name? Can I have that name, please? Oh, your future champions, right? Are you ready? I better get out soon. Now join me in welcoming our contest chair for this event. First Vice President, Distinguished Toastmaster Lark Doley from Austin, Texas. Now you know why I said Texas.
Howdy, partners from around the world. I am a born and bred Texan, can you tell? But I found out this week that Canada has a bigger stampede than Texas. Now that's just wrong. But Pat Johnson did invite us to take up residence here in Vancouver, Canada. So I figure if they have a ranch I can purchase, I may just stay here. And I heard this week that there is gold in Grouse Mountain, and that cinches the deal. This Calgary Stampede, it's an annual rodeo event that attracts over 1 million visitors to this area. 1 million. But you know what? They have 6 rodeo events. And I can do some of this stuff. The first event is bareback riding. Now, I will tell you, I have ridden a horse bareback. Not at a rodeo, though. Barrel racing, no, that's not my thing. But bull riding? I've done some bull riding. Okay, it was a mechanical bull, not a live bull. And by the way, Jim Key was at the same event when we rode that mechanical bull, and neither one of us did very well, did we, Jim? Oh my, we knew for weeks we had ridden that mechanical bull. The 3 other events, saddle bronc, steer wrestling, and tie-down roping. I haven't done any of those, and I don't intend to. But I believe that our World Championship of Public Speaking can rival any stampede in Texas or in Canada. Do you agree? So, any viewers out there on the range, get off your horse, take off your boots and your spurs, sit down, and enjoy the contest. You will be inspired by the performances tonight. And because we want to ensure the fairness of this contest for all our contestants, we have a couple of rules. Number 1, you will not be allowed to enter or leave the room when a contestant is speaking. Now, I would have packed heat here, but I was afraid they wouldn't let me in the country. So you don't have to worry about that, but the sergeant-at-arms will secure the doors. And rest assured, you will not enter or leave this room when there is a contestant on this stage. Rule number 2, we need to give our judges time to mark their judging forms. So after each contestant, there will be a minute of silence. Silence, Toastmasters. That means no verbal communication during that minute. And for the last contestant, we will remain silent until all of the ballots have been collected. Do you understand? Timers, are you ready to begin? Chief Judge, are we ready to proceed with this contest?
Yes, Madam Contest Chair, you may begin.
Thank you. We have one more thing to do before we begin, and that is I want to confirm that you know how to welcome our contestants. Therefore, I want to hear some stampede stomping and some thunderous applause on the count of 3. Stampede stomping and thunderous applause. Do we understand? All right, so 1, 2, 3, start. Well done, well done. We're going to do it one more time. This time, you can add some hooping and hollering to that, stomping and clapping. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. I will introduce each contestant by their name, the title of their speech, and then I will repeat the title of their speech and their name. Are we ready? Yes. Let the speech contest begin. Katina Hunter, The Gift. The Gift, Katina Hunter.
My mom's voice goes 2 octaves higher. She smiles, she squints, and she squeals out an, "Oh, thank you!" Regardless of the gift. If it's a pair of diamond earrings, "Oh, thank you!" If it's a book in which she already has a copy and has no intentions of reading, she says, "We'll work on it." Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could all muster up half of that same enthusiasm with every gift received? My friend Sally was an absolute nervous wreck. She was meeting her son's girlfriend for the very first time, and she desperately wanted to make a good impression. It took her an entire week to clean her quaint little apartment. It then took her an entire day to prepare this elaborate meal, enough for 20 people. And when they arrived, Sally hugged her son in an embrace that was long overdue. She then turned her attention to the woman who walked in behind him. Now, Amber was a little shy. Sensing her uneasiness, Sally reaches for the table and presents her with a squat box. "I didn't know what to get you. It's just something small." Now, if you were my mom, you would have said, Amber unwraps the box, pries back the lid. Her dainty fingers pinch the shoulders of a glittery t-shirt. After a couple more seconds of silence, she drops it back into the box and says, "I guess I could wear it to bed." Sally's heart had been completely shattered. Now, I know what you're thinking. You are thinking, "I would never act like that. I would never make somebody feel that their gift wasn't good enough." I want you to know that you already have. We all have been given a wonderful gift. And all of us, men and women alike, young and old, we are notorious for openly scoffing at this gift. We, on a daily basis, pick apart the most minute flaws of our appearance. And I'm no exception, because I was born with the Conley calves. Now, Conley is my mother's maiden name. And just this last year, as we're all sitting around the table for a big holiday meal, we all decide to measure our calves. That's normal family stuff, right? And all of us, my grandmother, my cousins, myself, our calves were about the same size. 16 inches around. That's almost 41 centimeters. But when you go up a little higher, those calves expand to even meatier thighs. But the calves, the thighs, they are just 2/3 of the set. Just kidding. No, 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 no. But they match Zeus and Apollo. Just like my legs, I feel that my arms are equally shapeless. Now, you need to know that for the last 5 years, I have dedicated myself to the gym. And when I say I go to the gym, I go to the gym! But despite my efforts, I have yet to achieve the willowy appearance of Taylor Swift. But one day I realized something. These arms, the things I've referred to as doughy cylinders, they have securely held my newborn children. I've relied on them to carry and hold tight the things in my life that are most dear to me, and they have never let me down. These legs, they've allowed me to run fast enough that I'm able to keep up with my son's bike and hold him steady during his first ride without training wheels. We may not feel that our gift is very impressive. Heaven knows I cannot wait to get off the stage and get some clothes back on. And there is a sentence I never thought I'd have to say. Our gift may be modest, but our gift is perfect. And you don't need to do it how my mom does it. You don't need to screech it out 2 octaves higher. Our response, however, should be nothing but a sincere and heartfelt thank you. Madam Contest Chair. Thank you so much.
One minute of silence while our judges mark their forms. Yolanda Bynum. One day, Yolanda Bynum.
Thank you, baby. By show of hands, how many of you were kids when you were growing up? Madam Contest Chair, and anyone who just wants to feel like a kid again. Kids have a great life because all they have to do is eat, sleep, and play. But I did not think that my life was so great as a kid because of my mama. When I was 10 years old, I had opinions that reached far beyond my years. Okay, mama said that meant I always had something to say about everything. But I wasn't happy because mama always had to be teaching me something about everything. Imagine going to school every day with your mama as the teacher. Class class was never dismissed. Little girl, make sure that you turn off all these lights when you are leaving in and out the room. Oh, and by the way, make sure you close the door when you are walking in and out. You are letting out the air that I pay for you to breathe. Mama, breathing is free. Hush, little girl. And make sure you eat all the broccoli and liver that I fixed for you. There are kids starving everywhere that would love that plate. Nuh-uh, ain't a kid alive that would love that plate. But you will. No, I won't. Yes, you will, and you will like it. No, I won't. Yes, you will, because I said so. And one day, you will thank me for it. No, I won't. Okay, I didn't say that last part out loud. But my mama was right. I always had something to say about everything. And I know that the lessons my mom was trying to teach me did not come easy. My mom was the single mom of 2, and she had 3 jobs. And even then, she barely made enough for us to get by. I had to watch my mom slave to take care of us. So that struggle drove my mama to make sure that she taught her little girl everything that she could, so her little girl could have more, be more, and do more. On the weekends, I would go with my mama as she cleaned up these huge homes. They were like mansions to me. And my mama would smile and say, little girl, one day all of this could be yours. And I would stare in awestruck wonder. And then she would add, but you have to keep it clean. I knew there was a catch. Of course, my mama kept everything clean. She cleaned our house every single day. She washed the dishes after every meal. She even washed our clothes at least a couple of times a week. So what do you think she expected me to do? She expected me to clean my room every single day. She expected me to wash the dishes with her after every meal. She actually expected me to fold the clothes after she washed them. I hated doing that stuff. My friends didn't have to do that stuff, so I didn't want to have to do that stuff. I wanted to eat, sleep, and play. Didn't Mama get the memo? Oh, and I told her, okay, Mama called it complaining, but do you know what the answer to the complaint was, members of the jury? No, she didn't say because I told you so. I think I could have handled that. She made it into yet another opportunity to teach me something. Mama, I don't want to wash dishes. You do know they make paper plates, right? It'll teach you to appreciate the food we have on those plates. And one day, you're going to thank me, little girl. Mama, I don't want to have to clean up my room or fold my clothes. You the mama. You do it. Okay, let me step outside for just a moment. When sassy little girls speak to their mamas that way, sometimes they cannot sit for a whole week. But the lesson was still the same. It'll teach you to appreciate that we have a roof over our head and clothes on our back. And one day, you're going to thank me, little girl. Mama, why do we have to go clean these big old houses? They're rich. Let them clean their own house. It'll teach you that big houses aren't always filled with the love that I give you. And one day, you're going to thank me, little girl. I was 10 years old. I didn't get it back then. And I did not think that my life was so great. But now that I'm older, my whole perspective has changed. My mama knew that what she taught the kid would impact the adult, because what you learn becomes a part of who you are. And then you can take those lessons and impart them to others. And those lessons come in handy, because now I am the single mother of 3 of them, and every single one of them are just like I was back then. And the lesson there is, if your mama prays for you to have kids that are just like you, it works. That works. Yeah. Yeah. So now I'm throwing everything at my kids, and I am telling them to do everything that my mama told me to do. And I'm even using that air thing, even though it is still free. I know my kids would rather eat, sleep, and play. But one day, they will understand why those lessons are necessary. And even though my mama is no longer here to see me apply those lessons that she taught me, those lessons live on in the adult. And her little girl is doing so much more than she ever imagined. My friend, your lessons could come from anyone or anywhere. And you will not like some of those lessons because it seems to make your life so much harder than it needs to be. But one day you will realize that those lessons, they made you stronger. They made you wiser. And they equipped you with the tools that made your life so great. And I, with opinions that still reach far beyond my years, do have something to say to my mama. Mama, you said one day your little girl would thank you, and you were right. Thank you, Mama. Thank you.
One minute of silence. John Andrews, my life as an underground commodities dealer. My life as an underground commodities dealer, John Andrews.
Unemployed and desperate. You ever been there? Because I have. Right around the time I started hanging out with a bunch of people I would regard as purveyors of underground commodities and services. But I was desperate, and they were recruiting. It started simply. I would run some errands, drive some people around, and soon I was thrust into a world full of pain, suffering, and death. I told myself that we were meeting a need in the community, but that was kind of the problem. Nobody wanted us. They needed us. We made their problems go away when all their other options failed them. And after doing this for a little while, I realized I didn't want to be a bit player in this show anymore. I wanted to run it myself. So I went back to college, wrote my board exams, and for the last 11 years, I have been a licensed funeral director. What did you think I meant when I said I was an underground commodities dealer? When my mom found out I wanted to do this, she was, pun intended, mortified. Be honest, if you had a choice between your son joining the mob or funeral service, it would be a tough call. Let me tell you some of the advantages of being my kind of underground commodities dealer, particularly if you're ethically flexible. Single people, this is a great way to get dates. Easy. They come to you, they need a shoulder to cry on, and just in case you got your eye on the one who's, how can I put this, Newly single again? Hey, when they're ready to love again, you have earned a place in their heart. Now, let's say I meet an attractive young widow and I want to take her out on a date. A gentleman brings flowers, doesn't he? Bang! Undertakers get free flowers. Honey, technically they're used, but they still smell nice. And I was thinking of you when I stole them off that card's not for you, hold on. Say I've had a few dates and it's time to take this relationship to the next level. Want to look in her big pretty eyes and ask her to be mine forever. Gonna need a ring for that, aren't I? Bang! Undertakers get free jewelry. Hey, what I said was, I want you to have grandma's ring. I never said it was my grandma's ring. If you get the option to marry an undertaker, say I do. Because when you ask us, how was your day? The answer will never be, meh, nothing special. We see it all. And I'm not just talking about the gory stuff either. The things you live people have asked me to do in my career have been downright mind-boggling. Like, do I need to bring in pants for my dad's viewing if the lower half of the casket is going to be closed anyways? We consider that dignified. Yeah, bring in his pants.
Excuse me, sir, but do you give seniors discounts?
Well, who do you think does all the dying? I once buried this little Italian lady, and her family said every time they saw her, she was eating a piece of bread. She loved it. Could we put a piece of bread in her hands in the casket? I said, no problem, except they forgot to bring in bread. Being quick thinking, I said, it's Christmas time, our receptionist baked some sugar cookies. I could put one of those in her hands. It would look about the same. No, she can't have that. She's a diabetic. One day a lady actually asked me to tie off her husband before I buried him. When I say tie off her husband, I mean exactly what you're thinking right now, okay? She didn't want him down there getting frisky with the ghoul next door. So she asked me to get a piece of cord, and I'm trying to keep it family friendly here, okay? Lady, here in Canada, our wedding vows are contingent on a 5-word clause, till death do us part. It is selfish of you to think you're the only one who gets to date again. No, you are free, as is he. Leave the man be. See, if I told you were getting a speech tonight about death from an undertaker, would you have wanted to hear it? Of course not, because death is the scariest topic you can bring up. But you don't look scared. You look quite relaxed. You know why? You've been laughing. And let that be a lesson to you. The big takeaway from my speech, laughter is the greatest weapon we have against fear. You can't be afraid of something while you're laughing at it. Okay, laughter's not always obvious, but found humor is a little like found money. It's extra sweet. I bet you thought you couldn't joke about death without being morbid or gross, but you found that's not true. I bet you thought an undertaker could never make you laugh, but you found that's not true. I bet you thought all undertakers were big, scary men in black who never smile. But what? Fear has robbed humanity of more hopes and dreams than failure ever could. Because you can recover from failure and maybe come back even stronger. Fear takes you captive. But if you go through life armed with the most powerful weapon we have against fear, laughter, you will overcome more challenges in your life. And don't listen to these negative people who want to tell you laughter is a bad thing, something negative. You know them? This is what they say. He laughs at everything. It's a coping mechanism to him. In my life, as an underground commodities dealer, I've seen things you couldn't pay your therapist enough to help you unsee. And don't get me started on the things I've smelled. Do you know why I'm not curled up in the fetal position every night? Because to steal a line from a great Canadian band, the Bare Naked Ladies, I'm the kind of guy who laughs at a funeral. Can't understand what I mean. You soon will. Laughter is not a coping mechanism, Toastmaster. It is a survival skill. Because if learning to laugh is a coping mechanism, so is learning to swim. For he who laughs lasts. Madam Chair. Thank you.
1 minute of silence. Tristan de Montebello, the Fear Olympics. The Fear Olympics, Tristan de Montebello.
I was 12 years old when I moved to France. And for my first ever Halloween, I walked into my classroom wearing a full-length wedding dress. Do you know what I learned that day? The French do not celebrate Halloween. Everyone in my classroom was laughing at me, pointing at me, calling me names, and I was frozen in fear. Have you ever felt terrified of what other people were thinking of you? Madam Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, after what just happened, all I wanted was to blend in. I wanted to be like everybody else. So I did what the cool kids did. I sagged my pants down. And I spent the rest of the day avoiding everybody, just waiting for my grandmother to pick me up after school. Now, my grandma isn't your typical grandma. She's a French lady with crimson red spiky hair and big tattoos all over her arms. But every day after school, I knew that I'd find Grandma sitting on her motorcycle, smoking a cigarette. So as soon as that bell rang, I sprinted out of class and I threw myself into Grandma's arms. And I told her the whole story. I said, Grandma, I'm so ashamed. I never want to go back there again. And Grandma just hugged me tight, like grandmas do. And she whispered, Tristan, who cares what other people think? Then she got off her motorcycle and said, you should be proud. It takes a lot of courage to be yourself. Come with me, I have an idea. Oh, and pull up your pants. I followed Grandma across the street, and she pointed to the first person she saw. Go say hi. Grandma, no, that's too scary. She answered, facing fears builds courage. Facing fears builds courage. And then she pushed me. Hi, miss. Louder! Hi, miss. It was absolute torture. We said hi to everybody we saw. And the next day, guess who was waiting for me after school? Motorcycle riding Grandma. Tristan! Are you ready for the next event of the Fear Olympics. Hop on! But before I did, Grandma handed me a brown envelope with one word written on it. Courage. When you need it most, open it. Ladies and gentlemen, it turns out I was going to need a lot of courage for the Fear Olympics because the next few days were the scariest of my life. Grandma had me ask random strangers for autographs. She made me go to a crowded park and dance the waltz with her. And she even had me dress up in a giant lizard costume and run around performing karate moves. Every day, Grandma told me to pull up my pants and face my fears. But one day, Grandma came to school without her motorcycle. And on that day, we took the subway home. And I had to hold on to one of those metal poles because it was so packed that I was scared I'd get trampled. And Grandma leaned in. When the train starts moving, I want you to sing. Ladies and gentlemen, I felt as if I were transported back to my classroom on Halloween day, and I instantly started panicking. I felt my heart start pounding in my chest. My legs went weak, I could barely breathe. And then suddenly I saw that the doors were about to close, and I didn't think twice. I jumped out of the metro, and I left the Fear Olympics behind me. And Grandma, too. By the time Grandma made it back to my station, my fear had turned to frustration. Why do I have to do your stupid Fear Olympics? Why do you keep making me embarrass myself? And Grandma just smiled. Tristan, open the envelope. So I pulled it out of my pocket, and inside this envelope, I found a handwritten letter from Grandma that would change my life. Here's what I read. Dear Tristan, before I married your grandfather, I was in love with a man on a motorcycle. With him, I felt I could be myself. But my parents thought he was wrong for me. I was too scared to follow my heart, so I followed theirs instead. And it's hurt ever since. It takes courage to free yourself from what other people think, and I didn't have it. You build courage by facing your fears. Tristan, I know the Fear Olympics are scary, but I promise you, they're worth it. When I finished reading this letter, I knew what I had to do. When the next train entered the station, I walked straight up to Grandma, took her by the hand, and pulled her inside. And when that train started moving, I sang. First I was afraid. I was petrified.